I thought this was my fault. I didn't think that anyone would let their album sound like this on purpose. Alright, what's up, pretzel buns? Y'all are extra, but worth it. Welcome to Guarsenio's High School CD Booklet Review, the YouTube show where I re-listen to all the albums I bought on CD in high school, which is a form of physical media that, if we're being truly honest with ourselves, doesn't have a good reason to be around anymore. Apple Music has lossless audio. What are we doing? But today we're talking about what most people consider to be the beginning of the end for Metallica and Justice for All. So right off the bat, the most famous thing about this record, other than one being Metallica's first hit single, is there is no bass on this record. Odds are, if you're a fan of this show, you did not need me to tell you that. If you've watched over 40 episodes of this show, chances are you have read the Wikipedia about this album over 40 times as well. But yeah, when I first heard this album, I didn't piece together that no bass was the reason that it sounded so weird. Most Metallica albums that I had heard, I had checked out from my local library. I don't know if this is across the country, but Denver libraries, man, they had a huge metal selection. And I would check a bunch of different stuff out and take it home and burn myself a copy. You know, like a criminal. But for some reason, the missing Metallica record at most libraries was And Justice for All. So I sucked it up, mowed a bunch of lawns, saved up my money, and psych, I downloaded it from Kaza. Sorry, Lars. So yeah, And Justice for All was one of the first albums I downloaded from the internet, and one thing I got used to very quickly downloading music off the internet is that the audio quality was terrible. I made peace with the fact that getting free music meant that a lot of it was going to sound like it was recorded underwater. So until I actually bought a physical copy of And Justice for All in my junior year of high school, I thought the album sounded this way because of pirate compression. I thought this was my fault. I didn't think that anyone would let their album sound like this on purpose. But lo and behold, I put the actual CD on in my car and I was still getting drop-kicked by mids. There are a lot of theories as to why there's no bass on this record. There's the Hazing Jason theory. There's the Lars got addicted to the demo drum sound theory. There's the Lars and James battling for volume supremacy theory. And most famously, there's the Lars is full of substances and tells the mixer to turn Jason's bass down to where he can barely hear it, and then turn it down 10 dB more. And like most theories, I think the real answer lies in a mixture of all of those possibilities. But bass aside, even if you're listening to an And Justice for Jason mix of this album, it's still a very weird record. And there's a lot written out there as to why that is, but I want to give all of you my big conspiracy theory on it. Metallica has always been a collaborative band, but in my opinion, the magic of them comes from the meshing together of the songwriting between Dave Mustaine and Cliff Burton. Dave Mustaine is a drunken scumbag that essentially invents the thrash style of guitar playing, and Cliff Burton is a punk fan and a classical music nerd. So I think that Dave's technicality and speed mixed with Cliff's vibe and composition skills are what make those early Metallica songs so incredible. This is the first Metallica album without influence from either of them, and I think it shows. Don't get me wrong, there are incredible songs and riffs on this album. There's way more good than there is bad, but there's some wonky timing on a couple of licks, and the composition is all over the place. They don't have Cliff's classical music ear anymore, so a lot of these songs are just long without having a reason to be. A lot of the time, there's no build or crescendo. It's just repeating a part to repeat it, or adding a part because that's where another part should happen. I think the bloat of this album causes the remaining guys in the band to realize that they don't really have the mind to create the Metallica songs of old. And that's why every album after Injustice sounds like a complete identity crisis. Sometimes that led them to success, and other times it led to Lulu. But I can guarantee you two things with each post-Injustice Metallica album. Number one, a band searching for direction, and number two, James Hetfield going, yeah, yeah! But enough, let's talk about this album art. This looks like Bart Simpson storming the Capitol. This looks like a strip club inside of the Getty Museum. This looks like an ancient key party frozen in time by the eruption of Pompeii. This looks like the Statue of Liberty's FetLife profile picture. This looks like Lars Ulrich fantasizing about Laura Dern. But in summation, I love this album. This might still be my second favorite Metallica record. It's just, you know, weird. But yeah, that does it for this week's episode. Let me know how wrong I am about this album in the comments. Just know that I don't care. Sometimes I'm just here to have fun.
It's 2 minutes to late night!